The year 2024 has been amazing for video games, and fans have been treated to one amazing experience after another, and it seems like this console generation is finally picking up the pace. To probably no one's surprise, action-adventure continues to be one of the most popular genres, and there have been plenty of great releases of this ilk in the last few months. To that effect, we will be discussing 15 of the best action-adventure games that were released in 2024. Black Myth: Wukong. Chinese game developer Game Science has had a strong debut with Black Myth: Wukong, which will undoubtedly go down as one of the best action experiences of 2024. Based on the classic novel Journey to the West, Black Myth is a thrilling boss rush that starts off strong and never lets its foot off the gas pedal afterward. It's chock full of memorable fights that are sure to push you to your absolute limits, and the combat rarely gets stale thanks to plenty of abilities and options at your disposal. Couple that with a bevy of imaginative vistas, beautifully brought to life through Unreal Engine 5, and that makes Black Myth: Wukong a truly special experience and worthy of all the hype. Neva. Neva takes place in a fantasy world that's beautifully brought to life through some extremely gorgeous art direction and a distinct sense of style. And the fact that these visuals tell a story of their own is something that elevates it all to another level. Neva does falter a bit in terms of the platforming accuracy and combat, but the fact that it knows its biggest strengths and the fact that it chooses to double down on them is what makes it an amazing experience. Slitterhead. Slitterhead might not be the kind of game that's almost flawless in every regard. It has a plethora of issues ranging from janky mechanics to a story that leaves a bit to be desired. But Slitterhead also has a vast pool of unique ideas that will make you want to keep trudging through despite their shortcomings. The core premise of switching between bodies to get clues and solve a murder mystery doesn't get old, and while the combat doesn't reinvent the wheel, it makes for a fun time regardless. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is a far cry from the Nazi-slaying Wolfenstein games that developer Machine Games is known for. And the fact that it truly encapsulates the spirit of Indy's globetrotting adventures makes it also special.
Gotcha.
Everything from the puzzles to the combat and the story is on point. And Machine Games has done a good job of adding some systemic elements to it all that make you truly feel like you're wearing Indy's hat. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Nintendo has been doing some absolutely great work on the Legend of Zelda series, both in the 2D and 3D realm. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom is emblematic of these very strengths, combining a strong 2.5D art style with Princess Zelda as the protagonist, along with some solid dungeon designs that make for a highly engaging experience from start to finish. It's definitely cut from the same cloth as what's come before, but that doesn't make it any less appealing. Akimbot. Akimbot takes the best parts of 2000's action-adventure platformers like Ratchet & Clank or Jak and Daxter and crafts an experience that's as much a glorious throwback to the past as it is its own thing. Developer Evil Raptor has done a good job of capturing the thrill of exploring these imaginative worlds, and that coupled with solid combat and platforming mechanics makes Akimbot something that's truly unmissable for fans of 3D platformers. Squirrel with a Gun. Squirrel with a Gun takes what might just be the most absurd premise we've seen in a while, and crafts a compelling shooter around it. Witnessing a furry squirrel hastily hopping around with weapons 10 times its size never stops being amusing, and Squirrel with a Gun tops that off with witty writing and excellent shooting mechanics. The story is equally wacky, though nothing to write home about. But it is definitely something that will stay with you long after the credits have rolled. Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Dead Rising stands tall as one of the best zombie games of all time, even after all these years, and the Deluxe Remaster packages that familiar experience with a fresh coat of paint to better placate a modern audience. Not only that, but the developer has also introduced plenty of minor quality of life changes that might not seem all that much important on their own, but do make significant improvements in the grand scheme of things. Slashing through waves upon waves of zombies with makeshift weapons doesn't get old, and Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster is a great way of revisiting the classic, or experiencing it for the first time if you haven't already. Stellar Blade. Developed by Shift Up, Stellar Blade is a remarkable hack-and-slash action-adventure that manages to strike a fine balance between a methodical combat loop and a flashy combo-driven one that we have seen in games like Metal Gear Rising. Stellar Blade may feel underwhelming in other departments, but it truly excels when it comes to the combat, which will leave you wanting more. Add to that some amazing visuals and great art direction, and Stellar Blade becomes a wonderful treat that is a must-try for anyone. Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. Saber Interactive's Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2 has proven to be an absolute thrill of a time, which is why it deserves a spot on this list. It effortlessly combines elements of a hack-and-slash action game and a third-person shooter without one overlapping the other, and uses those elements to craft an appropriately chaotic game that truly captures the spirit of the genre. In addition to this, the visuals look stunning and the operations mode feels like a cherry on top of a lovely cake. Astrobot. Astro's Playroom was a wildly imaginative pack-in game for the PS5, and Astrobot takes those ideas and spins an even larger net of ideas around those concepts, culminating in an experience that's bigger and better in every regard. Astrobot treats its players to one carefully curated platforming levels after another that will have you gleefully hopping your way through it all, making it one of the best platformers to have come out of Sony in quite a while. Senua's Saga Hellblade 2. Ninja Theory's Hellblade: Senua's Saga was a game that proved to be a shining beacon of hope for middle-market games, and Hellblade 2 is by all means an excellent continuation of those strengths. The narrative retains its best qualities by showing a stronger but also vulnerable side of Senua, who must battle her own demons amidst all of the chaos. And while it might not reinvent the wheel in terms of the combat, Hellblade 2's excellent production quality and appropriately short runtime makes it a great game regardless. Batman: Arkham Shadow. While Batman: Arkham Shadow might not have been the definitive continuation of the Arkham series that fans had been craving, it is a worthwhile release that needs to be appreciated on its own terms. Not only does Arkham Shadow spin a compelling tale that sheds some much-needed light on the detective nature of Batman, but it also makes good use of the VR's capabilities to make for some interesting interactions. It's a relatively shorter experience that's all killer and no filler, making it a must-try experience for fans. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Final Fantasy VII Initiative started off on a strong note with Part 1, and Rebirth is well and truly a one-up over what came before. It's definitely a radical upgrade, but it does a fantastic job of continuing a tale that feels both fresh and recognizable at the same time, along with a larger scope of open areas that were understandably absent from the predecessor. Of course, there's also the thrill of slashing huge swords and casting magic spells against insurmountable odds in the new, upgraded real-time combat system. Elden Ring: Shadow of the Erdtree. Elden Ring was one of 2022's biggest experiences that catapulted From Software to major success, and Shadow of the Erdtree feels like the icing on top of a very lovely cake. The Land of Shadow is filled with interesting snippets of lore that are unmissable for anyone familiar with the base game, and new boss fights with the likes of Mesmer and Promise Consort Radahn will test your mettle to the fullest extent. Between this and some excellent art direction, Shadow of the Erdtree is something truly worthwhile for any fan of the base game. Hey, did you know that we at Gaming Bolt upload new videos every day? Stick around, drop a like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and let us know what kind of content you'd like to see in the future with a comment below.